we want to keep promoting this idea that they can keep developing their skills. Like we were saying earlier, like you're never a finished product. If you can develop the skills to be able to adapt and utilize lighting more within your work, not only is your work going to look better, but you're going to get more clients. You're going to get more opportunity. You're going to get more projects. You're going to get better work. And like they should constantly be. And like it's great to hear that you're doing that, Anthony. It's great to hear you be able to meet them from being around our event as well.
Yes.
But it's absolutely something you should never stop trying to add different assets and different weapons to your arsenal.
Welcome to Good Soil Strategies, the podcast where landscaping, hardscaping, and outdoor service contractors learn what actually works in marketing, operations, and scaling. I'm Matt Penchuk with Search Strategy Marketing and Hardscaping HQ, and my co-host, Anthony Hill from Anthony's Lawn Care and Landscape in Bloomington, Indiana. Today we're sitting down with Tom Glasby from LJ's 44, the company behind Futurescape USA. They built the UK's largest landscaping trade show from the ground up, and now they're bringing it stateside. We're talking industry trends, how contractors can add services to grow revenue, and why the companies investing in visibility now are the ones who'll win. Let's get into it. I like the curtains.
Yeah, it's a bit of a running joke within the company at the moment. Every time I join a video call, they sort of laugh and mock me. I think it's probably a good way of saying it, or a nice way of saying it. But I'm having to work out of my nephew's room for the next couple of weeks, or while I'm back in the UK, which it's taught me a lot about the solar system. Is the positive I've taken from it. So it's not all bad.
That's exactly what my room back home looks like too. I love
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got everything on the wall over there as well. I'll show you that one if I can. But you've got the
Yes.
John Deere tractor as well. He's absolutely
Okay.
obsessed with everything agriculture.
That's great. I love it.
So good.
Well,
Yeah.
Bringing the young vibe to our podcast. That's great. I appreciate it.
There is a two.
How's it going since you've been back home? I know you left after Futurescape. You left for
Yeah.
a
Yes.
little break and then a little decompression, and then you're back in the office trying to determine next steps.
Yeah, it's been really good. To be honest with you, I miss being back in the States, and I'm excited to get back out there as soon as possible. I think we've spoken about it enough times about the differences between the weather. Is probably the big one for us, but it's been really good because for us, we still have a lot of boots on the ground in the UK. The majority of our team currently is still UK based. We'll change that up as we go over the years, but it's given me a better opportunity to be able to communicate with people, speak with the guys here, and get a lot of plans in place for 2026. Which you could do these video calls and have your group chats and everything as much as you possibly want, but nothing really does beat just being able to sit in a room with people and actually get down to it, have a conversation and really crack on. So yeah, it's been really good so far.
Good. Well, let's go back a step here. So first, Futurescape USA was the inaugural event was in LA in December. What was the response, and what do you think is what's changing for September? We thought both Anthony and I were there. We thought it was great, and we thought it was a really good first step. But we'd love to hear where you're at, where you're going with it.
Yeah, I think the response overall has been fantastic in terms of launch events. Let's be honest here, launch events are never going to be the finished product. I think it's probably the best and the first thing we need to sort of stamp out. There's a lot of companies that expect the first show to be amazing. There's a lot of companies that realize that it's a process in growing. And I think in terms of as first shows go, that our companies run, that I've run before, it's the best one by a country mile. The connections and the people and the audience that we had there was insane. The quality of these guys was fantastic. And what's made it even more special is how those connections have continued to develop post the event. We've got some brilliant guys like Eddie Wallace, for instance. He's been fantastic, not just in terms of like a speaking to us aspect, but there's a guy, Adam White from the UK, who used to be part of the British Landscaping Institute, and them two now are constantly speaking back and forth, commenting each other on LinkedIn. And it's little things like that which are amazing to see. Just seeing how these guys have connected and seeing how these guys have responded to it. And what we've kind of done inadvertently here is we've got these sort of soldiers going around California and passing on the good name of Futurescape to other people and to other people relevant in the industry and to other businesses and to their partners or colleagues. All in all, it was a really great first step for us. And in terms of 2026, I mean, where do I begin? That's been a lot of what our conversations have been over January, is basically getting all the plans we had in place now. And I'll give you a bit of an insight. We went to have a conversation with a landscaper last week, and we are going to be doing like a show garden at this year's show, which I don't think any other event in the US actually does, if I'm reciting correctly. There's definitely other shows that do demonstrations and seminars, but we're going to have someone come in. Show garden. Show garden, yeah.
Show garden. Oh, okay.
Show garden. Sorry, the accent's never going to be 100% right. But he's going to come in and he's going to use products from companies like within the show and put it all together in this beautiful landscape. And that's going to be sitting there as this beautiful garden throughout the event. People can go walk in, they can sit there. We're going to have like this after shows event where people can go and obviously have a look around it. But maybe not so much for you guys who are doing a service, but for the people that are providing products, anything from plant pots to decking to saunas, they've got an opportunity to get their products actually used in its natural light and its natural habitat live on the show floor, which in our UK and in our Saudi event has been a massive success. So that's one step forward for this year's show, amongst a million other ideas.
Well, tell me about that. So you've got, there's history here. So we've had this first show, but it's not just out of nowhere. And tell me about the history of the shows and how long they've been running for and who they were really targeted for. I'd love to know about those.
Yeah, my CEO will say it better than anyone. My CEO is a guy called Jamie Wilkinson, and he basically started the company with his father and his mother. Well, this year it'll be 16 years ago. And they were working together before in an events company. His dad was constantly pitching this idea of the landscaping industry to his boss at the time, because in any trade show company you work in, to make money, essentially, you've got to start pitching ideas, pitching shows that you can start taking control of going forward. And he constantly loved this landscaping idea, and they never really bit on it, and they never wanted to go ahead with it. And he did a podcast a few weeks ago in front of the entire company where he spoke about it. They sat down one Christmas and they said, "Screw it, let's do it." And they mortgaged their house at the beginning. They literally took everything they had, invested it into this business, and it started off. They just did a publication. They did Pro Landscaper, which is this really, really cool publication that we run in the UK, which we've now brought to the US. And at the beginning, it was slow. Traction was tough, getting people to be aware of it. But by the end of the first year, companies were reaching out to them. They started having really good connections within the industry. And it just started snowballing. It was this really fresh approach to the landscaping industry that hadn't been seen before. And then once that magazine had this real recognition within the industry, it just seemed to make sense to create this sort of centralized meeting point for that magazine as well, which is what Futurescape in the UK has now become. It is the leading trade show for landscaping in the UK. And when you speak to anyone in the industry in the UK, this is the first show they'll mention. Like, this is it's a household name.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
I love
really,
the screw it, let's do it attitude. That's the Richard Branson quote.
yeah. He constantly is reading books by people like Richard Branson and basically previous success stories as well, and learning from them. And like, it was touch and go at some points from what he's told us, but the results we've seen from it have been outstanding. And then
Readers are readers, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. One of the big things they push in this company, which I love, and they didn't do it as much in previous places I worked, is they're constantly pushing people to be, I think, educating themselves and developing themselves. And like, I think especially in where I am at, which is more of like a sales focused position, you do get quite a lot of cocky people. You get a lot of arrogance and people that think they are the finished product. And in reality, that's not the case. So like with him, he'll send me audiobooks all the time. It could be from anything from, Shoe Dog, the story about Phil Knight with Nike, to
That's good.
really brilliant book, really brilliant
Yeah.
book. But he's just constantly trying to share the knowledge he's got. And then back to how we got here. They launched the show, and then everyone within the industry started coming down to it. It started picking up real steam. And again, now it's the largest show in the UK. It's the focal meeting point for the UK. It's on everyone's calendars. And then since then, the company's just been able to evolve and evolve and evolve. And I think I spoke to you about this the first time we spoke, Matt. Like, what we're trying to do here, we're not just trying to run a show and run a publication. We're trying to create like constant meeting points in the UK. We run 30 under 30 awards. You run the summer showcase. You run all these mini business awards as well, where we're just constantly in contact with this market, and not just digitally, like physically, actually having a meeting place with them. And like that's basically been the big factor about how we can grow this. Now, again, in the UK, and the same thing we're building now in the US, is we have these guys who will go and carry the torch for our brand because we've helped them. We've helped companies go from earning 30, 40K a year. This is like landscaping businesses, not just like suppliers, 30, 40K to doing 1 million, 2, 3, 4, 5 million in revenue a year. And they'll put a lot of that success down to awareness we give them and to support we've given them. And that's the best part about it.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So what kind of support? Because this is focused for contractors and of all stages, small to large.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of support do you offer?
Well, I think for that, it's not just contractors. This is the other big things. In the UK, and I think it's the same in the US, a lot of these events and publications go down one route where it's either contractors or it's architects or it's maintenance. And like this is like the spectrum is either focusing on the design aspect, the build aspect, or the maintenance aspect. That's kind of the three core routes they go down. Then you could break it down to commercial, residential, public spaces, whatever you want to do. But like this combines all of it because what we believe, and I think what is really the case, is that every single project that happens isn't just because of one entity. It's because of these three different areas combining. If you a family garden, for instance, a residential garden, that starts off with someone designing it. That starts off, then goes on to a contractor or a builder that actually putting that in place, or a landscaping company. And then the other maintenance landscapers will come in, they'll maintain that. They keep the grass cut, they keep the shrubs clean, they keep all everything looking neat. And this unites all of it. And in terms of like how we support them, it's well, there's many ways. I mean, I'll take the magazine as the first aspect. One of the most successful areas and the most read and anticipated areas of our magazine is we do like these project showcases. So landscape companies will send us in projects that they've completed after they're done, and we'll brandish that out and we'll work with them to create a story about how they've done it. And they don't have to pay anything for that. We're not charging landscapers to contribute that content. However, what it's doing for them is building up this recognition within the industry. And if you're a contractor, for instance, and you send that story in to us and you show us some of the work you've done, what that's going to start doing for them is start developing designers that want to work with them because they see the quality of the work that they can complete. They'll see that the standard they're able to live up to. That's one of the main things is these actually giving recognition and showcasing the talent and the work that these guys have done. And then besides that, there's all the awards that we do. In the US at the moment, it's just the project awards, but that's hopefully going to change over the next year. But we ran them at Futurescape last year, where we have 5 different categories. We have residential under 500K, residential over 500K, commercial, conceptual, and cityscapes. So for each of those categories, we get 5 companies to come and present their projects, and they'll be judged on by head of associations, big names in the industry, like some really important figures. And if they're lucky enough to win the North and South America heat, we will fly them out to Saudi Arabia, where they will go into the world competition, and they'll be presenting those projects against every other continent in Saudi Arabia, the chance to basically be the pro landscaper winner for under 500K, over 500K, whatever it could be. But There's people like
Cool.
Michael Bernier, who came down to this year's show, is this amazing designer, landscape designer based out of Los Angeles. He's never done anything like that before. We're flying out to Saudi Arabia in June, and he's calling me every 3 weeks asking about information, what he needs to pack, what he should wear. It's amazing. And then the list just goes on and on. 30 under 30, giving like the young people in the industry recognition as well. That's something that's really going to motivate some of the people that are new to this to keep pushing and driving to develop their own businesses or take the companies on even further. Yeah, that hopefully gives you a bit of an idea. But again, I could go on about what we do for landscapers for hours.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I didn't realize that. I think because we were so busy focused on the show and talking to other people or contractors are coming in, I don't think I got
Yeah.
to see the whole breadth of it. And I know it was on the relative small scale, but and I do want to get back to supporting contractors because I think you have a lot of insight that you can share. But while we're on the topic of Futurescape, when is it coming up again? What's new? What can we look forward to in 2026?
No question. So we're changing venue. Is the big thing for this year. We were at the LA Convention Center last year, and I won't go into too many details as to why we've changed on here, but everything's in the best interest of the exhibitors and the attendees. I think is the best way of saying it.
Great.
For us, it's a more expensive venue, so we've taken a bit more of a hit on it, but it's going to make the show a lot more enjoyable and I think a lot more viable for a lot of people, not just to exhibit, but also to attend. And we've also now brought the dates forward, so we're going to be on the 1st and 2nd of September. Last year we were in December, which was okay. I think it was good, and it allowed a lot of people who I think were winding down for the year the opportunity to still get out and obviously connect and have a look around and start having those conversations. However, September is the beginning of the trade show calendar for landscaping. We're going to be the first show across the entirety of the US for this year. And in terms of what we're going to do for the event to make it exciting, it's a bad time of the year, especially for us when we're half indoor and half outdoor. We can develop the outside of the show really, really well this year. And like stuff we're going to do, we've got, like I said, the show garden's one of it. We've got the outside networking area where we want to host the after show party, which I know you guys were nice enough to come and attend this year and hopefully enjoyed that. We're going to try and take that up another scale for next year's show, continue with the demo zones as well, but also give us a chance to work with some quite cool companies who are doing maybe a larger products or larger equipment and give them a bit more space to be able to work in at the same time.
Is this a TV show yet?
What, Futurescape or?
Yeah, because you like with the competitions that you're talking about, that could be a TV show.
No. I mean, if someone wants to pay us to be a TV show, we'll
Yeah,
definitely listen to that conversation.
I just like saw it in my mind. I saw all of this being this like phenomenal TV show on like landscape companies competing against each other with design and their finished product. That would be really cool.
With your host, Tom Glasby.
Yeah,
No, I'm not the host for these sort of things. That's not my speciality. We've got.
I can see it. I saw a TV show, man. I'm just telling you.
I think that the TV show aspect's a good idea, and we were toying around with this like YouTube series idea for it as well.
Yeah,
And like, it'll take a lot more thinking to make it work, but it'd be great. Like if we could do it so we follow like the crews around as they're developing these projects and they come and present these projects at the end of it. How cool would that be?
yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's
There's
top
just
level.
people who are fanatical about it. There's people, I mean, homeowners and especially gardening. Like there's people that just like live for gardening, man, especially people who are retired.
Yeah.
Like there's a huge market for like a YouTube series or something along those lines for sure.
I would love to do that. I mean, again, I
Yeah.
don't want to host it. That's not my specialty.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get someone else to
Matt
do
will
that.
host it for you.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
we'll get Matt in. You'd be good at that.
It's gonna be great. I'm gonna work on my moves. All right. So yeah, I think YouTube would be great too. I mean, just even as a slow start to it, you could
Yeah.
graduate to the next level, but just to have people followed around. We've talked about that plenty, Anthony, about how important it is for, well, not only for the visibility of the contractor, but people do eat it up. They want to see how things are done to understand. And when a contractor presents that, it just shows their authority, their ability to do the work. And so it's a great play all the way around.
Absolutely. I mean, and something I was going to speak to you guys about, obviously probably having a bit more knowledge than myself, is like we're seeing tremendous success from doing like series and posts on like Instagram Reels and so forth as well. Like that's something that's really started developing and getting a bit more traction online. I think something that is quite underutilized by maybe landscapers as well. But I mean, landscapers are getting a lot better at the social media presence side of things, definitely in the US more than the UK. But something that we've been toying the idea around is doing a series of that. Like the Show Garden, for instance, the guys we're working with, they're a British company, and it's these two brothers from the city near me in the UK called Bristol. They're called Green Genie. Have a look into them. They've just got over 1.1 million followers, I believe it is now on Instagram.
Okay.
So that, and they've been doing it for 6 years, so since COVID. And the conversations we're having is, look, could we do something like an Instagram reel storyline from creation of the show garden all the way through to the creation of it actually at the event and showcase the entire story? Because I feel like that's something that's really going to immerse the audience into it at the same time.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great.
I think so too.
I think that's where where Anthony, your show idea is coming from. It's just you do see on Instagram that the before and afters are so powerful, particularly for landscaping. It's not the same for a roofing company or a plumbing company. It's about like people just love that design and the change, and so
The transformation.
The transformation is where
It's
it's
like
at.
complete home makeover, right? Like
Yeah.
Right.
what you do with your yard. Yeah.
I think
So
I think it's just it's a very sexy industry as well. Like I was having this conversation the other day when I first came into doing the landscaping side of things. I thought, is it really that exciting an industry? Is it that sexy? And then I've sort of got my teeth into it over the last 4 or 5 years. Now I find myself sort of scrolling on Instagram, looking at these different houses, these properties, the developments that are going on, the gardens that have been created, the commercial back. It is a very sexy industry if it's done by good people and done right. And
Yeah.
Instagram is such a useful tool these days to be able to present that a lot better. So yeah, we want to utilize that a lot more.
Some of the designs are so over the top and so incredible. Speaking of, did you meet Derek? We're going to have him in a couple weeks. Derek from Your Haven Design.
I didn't get a chance
3D
to meet
design.
him. No.
Super nice guy, and his team does great work, and they churn out these incredible 3D designs, and just like with the plans, and just it's almost shocking to me. I wish I was on that side of it. I'm on the marketing side, which it can be fun in its own right, but just to see that final product of what could be built out is just it's so spectacular. I'm so impressed by what people can think of and do, especially the ones that get me are the and I don't know how long the trend will last, but they'll find a way to get the LED light strips in and around the pavers or something like that. The light the sun goes down, they flip the switch, and all of a sudden it's like this perfectly lit up, gorgeous backyard.
That's one of the emerging markets that we're seeing right now more than anything is the growth of outdoor lighting and being used better. I think outdoor lighting has been used quite poorly in a lot of landscapes, and like where we're focusing, for that Los Angeles, California market, you can host into the night quite comfortably, and it's about creating a better look, I think, for your backyard, for your hosting area, wherever it could be. And some of the companies we're seeing out there who are doing like lighting that's built into decking, lighting that's built into paving, like you say, it's outstanding. If it's done right, it's so cool. It's one of the best looking things I've seen.
So funny because the night before going to the Futurescape event in LA, my colleague Joseph and I went to see the Hollywood sign, of course, and then we were walking around the neighborhood, like in the Hollywood Hills, and the landscape lighting was stunning. We said, "Oh my gosh, we got to get into this." And then one of Matt's clients joined him. His name's James, and he has a landscape lighting company, and now he's going to teach us how to add that. And
Oh,
it's
so cool.
actually a very underserviced. Like, not a lot of people are going into landscape lighting, in our area at least.
That exactly. It's something that I, I I I don't see it. If you're working in the areas and you're working within this field, I don't see why it's not something you try and learn. And like this is something we want to keep pushing because I think, and I'm going to say a few things on this call. And I don't want it to be perceived as we're saying the UK is better than the US for things because that's not the case. But in the UK, it's a case of these landscaping companies will become specialists in so many different areas. And the terminology we use a lot for a lot of it is like finishing touches. It's the final things that's going to make things look better, make things look sexy. We want to keep promoting this idea that they can keep developing their skills. Like we were saying earlier, like you're never a finished product. If you can develop the skills to be able to adapt and utilize lighting more within your work, not only is your work going to look better, but you're going to get more clients. You're going to get more opportunity. You're going to get more projects. You're going to get better work. And like they should constantly be. And like it's great to hear that you're doing that, Anthony. It's great to hear you be able to meet them from being around our event as well.
Yes,
But it's absolutely something you should never stop trying to add different assets and different weapons to your arsenal.
I completely agree. And I see people on YouTube that don't agree with that sentiment, and they're like, just do one thing. And I'm like, I don't agree with that. The best companies in the world don't just do one thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Like, it's all well and good to do one thing. And like you can be a perfectionist with it. However, that's your niche then, isn't it? And again, it limits the work you want. But then again, that's different people's viewpoints for it. Where the one thing I will say is if you are going to add different tools to what you do and different skill sets, you don't make sure you're doing a sloppy job on it, but obviously it's not going to be your mindset for it anyway. But that's
well,
the worst
but,
thing.
I mean, that's funny you say that, because what we do, if we're adding like a new service like that, we'll just do like a really nice discount, and we'll say, hey, we're getting into this and we're developing this service. Would you mind if you were a test, like one of the first clients we do, and we're going to do it for 80% off or something? And
Wow.
then they're okay with us kind of experimenting, and we do that for 5 to 10 projects until we like really, get systems in place for it.
Yeah.
And then we start charging more. And we did that with hardscaping too, like building patios and walkways and all that was a lot of hard work. Um, but after 2, 3, 4 years of doing it all the time, then we started to get really good at it, and
Mm.
then our customers are happy. But you do have to start somewhere. So at that point, if you can offer a discount to a client, to a select group of clients or something, I think that's the way to go. When compared to, trying to charge way up here, even though you're still kind of new to it.
I think that's a brilliant way of doing it. That's
Yeah.
great.
We do the same thing on the marketing side of things. Sometimes it's a new technique or a new approach, and we're just not sure. We'll say, all right, we'll do it for you. Let's just throw this in, and they get it. They get some value out of it. Generally, it goes well. We find out if it doesn't, but we can at least make adjustments along the way. And so I do think it's really great to have things in your back pocket that will create a different view of you, because if you get static and stagnant, nothing changes. It all eventually you lose that luster. So it's really great. I love when Anthony's like, "Yeah, we're adding this in," and that's also another shameless plug for James Snow of Austin Outdoor Lighting Design. He does great work, but
Oh,
he's
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 wonderful.
yeah, he's teaching Anthony how to incorporate that into his part of the business, or into his business. And so we want to see that happen more often, where people can get delivered a piece that they can add on and start to incorporate it into their own services. So this is a good segue here. I was just one thing we were talking about. We were just talking about the industry, what you're seeing. You think people should add landscape lighting. What are some tangible things that you're seeing that contractors in particular, should be doing to improve their business right now?
I think there's a number of things, to be honest with you. I think the first thing, and this is the conversation we had with you guys and why you're a brilliant fit for what we're doing. I think people need to start focusing on getting brand recognition and actually getting their work out there. I think that like we've said already, tools like Instagram are amazing, but we work in an industry which is a visual industry. Let's be straightforward about it. And I don't think there's anywhere near enough companies, not just in California, across the entirety of the United States, who have a good enough online or social presence for what their actual work is. And the thing right now with California is there's so much work. There is so much work happening, and I talk about it almost every single day. So like the next 3 years, you've got the World Cup happening this year, which is exciting. It's happening all over the US, but it's going to be in California as well. You've got the Super Bowl happening in 2027. You've got the Olympics happening in 2028. You've obviously still got the rebuilds happening in places like Malibu and the Palisades because of obviously the unfortunate fires last year, which have created this opportunity to go and do work up there at the same time. Those are just the big things that are going on because alongside of that, you've got developments into residential and commercial work like you've never seen before. I mean, you've got homes. I was looking the other day, and there's like the home. There's a guy who specializes and he sells like 16 or has 16 luxury Airbnbs, and he's already allocated 14 of those for the Olympics at over $500,000 a month.
What?
Yeah, like the money going into this right now, people that because with the Olympics coming up, and I guess with the World Cup as well, but because that's a bit more moving around, that's a solid month of events happening in Los Angeles. And don't get me wrong, it's a very active area anyway. But when you look at the work that's going on, people are going to want to host going forward. They're going to want to be able to create a place where their family, their friends, their colleagues, their business partners can come and stay with them. And, if they go down to an event, they can come back and spend the evening there. They can spend a few days there. They can spend a month there if they want to. So there's all this residential work that's developing now as well. And I think for a lot of these companies, if they don't start getting big enough recognition and start snowballing at least some sort of online awareness for themselves early and getting their brand out there, they're going to miss out on a really, really big opportunity over the next few years. That's one of the big things that we've been speaking about on our side, which obviously ties into you really well, Matt. And I'm not too sure if you've seen or had similar conversations with people about that now, but that's definitely some of the conversations we've had.
In terms of getting that visibility. Sorry, you broke up a little bit, but it might just be on my end. No, it's okay. But you were saying in terms of the visibility.
Yeah, in terms of companies that have little to no online awareness whatsoever and developing that.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing that people are wondering why they're not getting as much business as they could be, but they're not putting themselves out there. And so it is about that trust factor. If somebody's going to spend, let's just go on the low end. I mean, you're talking about $500,000 projects. That still just blows my mind. But let's say that, it's a $50,000 project. It's important for somebody to be showing the work that they've done so that somebody can trust that. You're about to go invest a huge amount of money into your backyard or your front or whatever it is that you're going to do. You just need to know that this company can do for you what they say they're going to do. And so the more that you can put out there, the trust factors get built in advance, and then somebody comes and lands on there and says, oh, I just like the style and I know that they can do it because I see it for myself. And so there's that real world trust that's out there where you have, they know everybody in the neighborhood, they know, they're just known in the area. But if somebody doesn't know them and they go to find someone, they're not showing up, they're not putting themselves out there. So it's really, really important that the before and afters are there, that they show their competency on their website, on their social profiles. And they're also omnipresent. Like they're showing up here and there so that they can be seen. It's like having your van wrapped. You just need to do it in the digital realm. You can't just expect that it's all going to come out of nowhere. So there's work to be done. So I am shocked often. I think people are just, it's like sometimes it feels ethereal. There's nothing tangible there. It's like you're selling smoke or something. But the fact is that people do spend so much time online and they're looking for those trust signals. So as much information as can be put out there, the better. And you also want to fish in the right waters. You don't want to spend your time doing, you don't want to spend your time, doing, TikTok if that's not where your audience is going to be. Yeah, so that's important. And then another thing too is that sometimes people will put, or contractors will say, "Why I just put all my money into Angie or Yelp because they're kind of recognizable." But what ends up happening is you start fighting, uh, you start fighting on price. That's how that's how you win, and it's like speed to lead and price. And so we're talking about $50,000, $100,000 jobs. You need to be out there showing your wares and showing what you can do and being more trustworthy. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox about that. But really, when it comes to the visibility, it's being trustworthy is so important in this process.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something that when I first got into any sort of sales role, I remember. I'm not going to memorize it correctly. I'm not even going to try and say who I think it is. I want to say it was to do with Apple when they were first releasing the iPhone. Their whole marketing push was like, basically, you need a minimum of 7 touch points before you're going to get a sale. Absolute minimum of a
Mm-hmm.
sale, and it was a case of like, it's TV adverts, radio adverts, stuff on social media, billboards, wherever it could be. Like, as getting, you have to just do more than one thing. You have to get as much recognition for one product as humanly possible. Otherwise, you're not going to get the business coming into you. That's the thing I think with social media is that some people don't see it as a viable option a lot of the time, whereas in reality, the companies who have got a great social media presence and have been doing it for a couple of years, they're getting leads come through more than they probably handle a lot of the time. So yeah, I think brand recognition and brand presence is a massive thing. Um, we always talk about sustainability, and sustainability is a tough one. I think is probably a fair way of saying it because you want to be sustainable. However, a lot of that comes down to the homeowner and the person who's hiring you to do the work. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, California is sort of seen as this sort of leader in sustainability in a lot of ways. However, I think when people are faced with a bill and they say, "Look, here's what happens if we do this in a greener way, and here's what happens if we do it in a regular way," and there's a 30 grand disparity, they go, "Okay, let's just do it in the regular way this time round." So there's I think looking into financially sustainable ways of being sustainable, like take K&D Landscaping as a really good example of it. They're completely electric now. They're well ahead of the curve. I know there was the gas power ban that came in a couple of years ago for contractors
California,
for a lot of
yeah.
their equipment. However, it's not really been acted on. I don't think as strong as it probably should have in a lot of cases. Um, so like understanding a lot more about how they can be sustainable is a massive factor. And then I think like in terms of trends, I think the biggest one that we're seeing at the moment is the term of outdoor living and wellness. I think's probably where I'm at with it, and that can be a number of things. I mean, in Los Angeles, that could be people putting basketball courts in their back garden. You know, it could be anything, but it could a lot of that now is stuff like getting saunas, hot tubs, getting cold plunges put into these properties, and again with contractors, if they can find a distributor, they can find a company that they trust again, it goes back to the finishing touches point. If you can be a
Mm-hmm.
landscaper contractor whose speciality is putting in saunas, you're going to get some more business out of that. You're going to start getting some more recognition out of it. I think the wellness market, again, in California is so vast and so big. It's a case that they should definitely be looking at different ways that they can start supporting that with the projects they do going forward. I mean, a lot of our conversations already this year have been with sauna companies, hot tub companies, pickleball courts, for instance. Like, how can people stay active and how can they basically best look after their body going forward? I think that's coming to light now with how a lot of people are planning and asking their projects to be done in the residential market for sure.
So, would you say that there's the sustainability there, or the sustainable, healthy angle here, but how does that support individual contractors in their business, and what are you seeing there? And maybe Anthony, you can speak to this. Is more my curiosity of how does that add to the business, and also how do you manage that? Because I know there's some challenges in that growth when you start adding on all these extra pieces.
Yeah, I mean, from my viewpoint for it, I think the sustainable angle more than anything is actually more of a brand tool. I think it's probably a good way of saying it. And what I mean by that is like one of the things you look at, like again, I'll use K&D. I mean, you look them up online, they're plastered everywhere as this sustainable landscaping operation. And for them, that gets them a lot more recognition than potentially some other companies who are doing similar levels of work, because they're seen as doing this green focused business. They're seen as doing this world healthy version of it. And I think people trust that a lot more now. People are a lot more climate conscious. People are a lot more focused on how can they do their part going forward. And if you have the opportunity and you want this work being done, and for them, what they've done brilliantly, from what I understand, is they've been able to do it without having to completely increase their costs to put them in a position where they're unattainable to work with. So following a metric or a model like theirs is a great tool. And then in terms of like the outdoor living and wellness side of things and how that can actually benefit contractors, this finishing touches point is, if anything, it's an upselling technique. That's what it is. If you can get a connection and you have a distribution chain with a hot tub company, a sauna company, a cold plunge company, or you have all these different aspects you can do, and let's say they sell them to you for $3,000, you can start selling those the residents that you're working with for 50%, 100% increases if you want to. It's just ways for them to be able to make extra money on every project, and a lot of these can come prefab, so it doesn't actually take a lot more time out of the day to be able to install these. You got to still do it correctly and get them all hooked up right. But it's a way for
Could
these
these,
projects to earn extra 5K. Sorry, man.
sorry to interrupt, but could these be found at Futurescape?
Yes, absolutely. There was a company last year, Backyard Discovery, who was fantastic at it. And if you saw their booth, it wasn't a massive space. It was only like a 20 by 10 space, but they had like an outdoor kitchen with a small pergola over the top of it. They had a prefab sauna that was there as well. We've got a company coming in this year. They're not prefab, but they're a brand called Symmetry Saunas. I'm not sure if you've heard of them. They're based out of Idaho. They've done some very, very big names around the US. And their whole thing is they want to be in a position where they can pass this on to landscapers, pass them materials, and get them to be able to complete the projects on their behalf. And then their saunas can be anywhere from 40, 50, 60K. So imagine the upsells that these contracts can do by getting more into that market. It's a massive, massive moneymaker. And also, on top of that, if you can stop outsourcing for these as well, you're then making more money for it. Essentially, what a lot of these landscapers are doing is they're charging for it and then paying other people to do it. Take those skill sets on yourself. Take advantage of it. Learn another tool. But yeah, I think with the health conscious area, that's definitely a route to go down. Not sure if you had
Anthony,
any
when you
opinions on
think
it.
about that, you're in the position of the outdoor specialist. What comes to mind for you?
I mean, at one point, Matt, you were saying, like, how do you add other services? And I had previously kind of mentioned one way we do that, and then another thing we do. Excuse me. When it comes to being sustainable in the way you said, I might have got some allergies going. I was working outdoors the past couple days. I was actually in Nashville doing, which I can tie this in because I was in Nashville, Tennessee the last few days. There's a bad ice storm. So
Right. Yeah.
we're expanding the areas we service. So we're going into other states. We're also going into other ancillary businesses like landscape lighting, junk removal. Another one would be like pool cleaning. They're all businesses that you can do them with the trucks and the equipment that you already have. Maybe you have to add some headcount. Maybe you have to buy another truck, but you can still operate it within the warehouse that you have. And what we do is we just start doing it little by little. We'll just, we won't promote it too heavily. And we'll just, let's say, offer that 5% of the time until we really start to get good at that. And then that's sustainable, like financially. I know we were talking about sustainability from like, planting natives. Like everyone in the cities we service, they want to plant natives. They want to plant, something that's going to be low maintenance, that's native, that should typically be there, not bringing in something else that's going to be invasive. In Bloomington, Indiana, where we started, People don't want invasive species. Actually, there's a huge effort to get those out. So when we started doing tree trimming and tree removal, which most of the tree removal we do, 80 to 90% of the jobs are dead or dying trees. It's not like we're just going out and taking down perfectly healthy trees. But there is that sustainability of, people want something that's going to last, something that's native, something that's going to be eco-friendly, support the ecosystem. We're seeing a huge push for that. And when we write that in our estimates, we'll write, sometimes the client, before we put a design together, they're not sure what plants they want to install. And if they're not sure and we're still working on a design, when we write the estimate, we'll say we're going to focus on natives. We're going to focus on, low maintenance shrubs, things that are deer resistant, and things that are going to last. People want their landscape to last more. And then you have things like xeriscaping too, or xeriscaping. It's like XEI. You hear all about it, I'm sure, Tom.
In California, yeah, it's dry
really
out
cool. Like, because you can incorporate that anywhere. Like you can incorporate elements of xeriscaping, but that's another sustainable thing, in its own way. Like, yeah, I know it's not always a plant, but you can plant something that's like drought tolerant, that's still a native. It's like people want you to put the right plant in the right place at the right time. People care more about that than ever. So we spell all that out in our agreements. And the amount of people that sign up with us, like since we've started adding all that in our agreements, has just skyrocketed because we're showing that we care about sustainability.
And here in California, this is the leading place of all things sustainable, right? So that if it's being connected all the way out there into Indiana, where that's becoming a priority. It's not to be obnoxious about it, but just the way it is. That's great. But what about what Tom was talking about in terms of those upsells and like the what was it, the sauna that you were talking about, or is it the?
Oh,
yeah,
that's
brilliant.
Brilliant, because not everyone's doing it. So if it's something you do, and it can get your foot in the door too. Like, okay, they already have a landscaper, they already have someone to mow the lawn, but their company that does their landscaping and lawn mowing, they don't install saunas, and then they go do a Google search, sauna installation or ChatGPT or whatever in the city that you service, and now your page shows up. Now they're a client of yours. Oh, you also do landscaping, and then your foot's in the door, and you can get a lot more clients that way.
Yeah. I think on top of that as well, I think word of mouth is still a massively powerful tool, especially in the residential work. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take my own mother, for example. If one of her friends gets something cool in their back garden, you best believe in the next couple of months, she's going to look against something cool in her back garden. So
Yes.
if you become a specialist in stuff like saunas, hot tubs, anything like that, word's going to get around those areas. And it may be a case of that time all they want is a hot tub. But again, like you said, Anthony, if they work with you and they've trusted you and you've come in before, when they do want landscaping work done, they do want anything else done, they're going to look at what else you can provide. And it's just an opportunity to keep a relationship there that potentially you wouldn't have got before.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of our clients want us to do some of our clients are just looking for things because they just want to hire us to do more things. Like, well, can you do, I used to have people ask me, can you refinish my whole kitchen and bathroom? I'm like, I'm not getting into all that just yet. But they would especially when it was me in the field, when I was way smaller, when it was just me and a few guys, our clients would always invite me to they would just try to brainstorm anything because they just wanted to hire us to do more because they love working with us. So yeah, we've always been really fortunate with that.
Yeah. You guys do a wonderful job. So I'm curious though now with the sorry with the segue here, but the contractors, you've got these other options, these upsell options, these amazing vendors, and I think Anthony and I talked about it at the show in terms of what's available to him that he sees that wow, I could use that, I could use that, How do you get your vendors? How do you choose them? How do you get them? Your focus on them? I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, good question. I think a lot of it it comes from conversations. I think it's a good way of saying it. Like almost every single company we have at the event comes from a conversation we've had with an attendee or a landscape contractor that we have a connection with, and we don't go into those conversations asking for influence about where to go. We have conversations with them openly and ask what's the situation with the industry, what's going on with X, Y, and Z, and then that's kind of what fills into it. Realistically, that's kind of how we get an understanding. Because what we don't want to do here, this is one of my biggest pet peeves at a lot of trade shows, is that they'll get a boatload of inquiries, people reaching out, and they'll just have sort of anyone and everyone who wants to exhibit, no matter if they're relevant or not. There may be the slightest hint of relevancy, but at the end of the day, when you actually go to the show, people will look at them and go, why are they here? What's the point of those guys being here? That's what we're avoiding with it. So in terms of like the areas, that's one way. The other areas as well, I think, more than anything, sort of comes down to common sense is a big thing for it. And like last year, we had a very big market for stuff that was about like home forest fire defense and mitigation systems. And we had a couple of conversations with people that were looking into focusing on that sector. However, if you sort of put two and two together, if you're someone who's working on back gardens, homes within these high risk areas constantly, having a system you could put in place, whether it be a sprinkler or a retardant or whatever it could be, is a really brilliant tool that's going to focus on their arsenal. And it's just constantly being in touch with the trends that are happening in the market. That's how we sort of figure out the sectors for it. And then in terms of reaching out to them, there's a million different ways. We'll go to other events. We'll go to different small events that they're at. We'll go and actually meet people in person, have conversations with them. We'll reach out to people on LinkedIn. We'll just call them. Like we're not just cold calling and battering people and you know, I think how a lot of traditional sales can be. We're calling people up and trying to have a conversation with them, because I think that's where a lot of other trade shows go wrong, where they just basically call someone up and they just blurt as much information as possible at them in 10 minutes and say, yeah, that's a good call, and they move on with their day. In reality, we call these guys up, and I don't feel good about speaking to someone unless I spoke to them for 30, 45 minutes and actually understood what their business is doing, where they're going, what they're looking for, to make sure they're actually a right fit for what we're doing. We've also got the team on it. So like my sister's the business development director for the show. So she's constantly reaching out and speaking to people on LinkedIn, keeping her ear to the ground in the industry. We've got a couple other guys in the team, so Ryan and Ellis, who are constantly reaching out to again different people, having conversations, understand that. And on top of that, we've got the magazine, which is also great because we can see what the projects are currently looking like and we can understand that. But we've got this really, really great team here. Really great team. Anything from our directors, like Jamie is the CEO. Saturdays, Sundays, he'll be sending me emails saying, this looks great. This is an amazing company. And all different things like that. Or he'll be speaking to someone and say, look, Tom, you should look into this going forward. And then James, who you may have met at the show, actually, who's the managing director for the company, like he's constantly on LinkedIn, keeping in tabs with people, having conversations here, there, and everywhere. Then we have the marketing team, Scarlett, Chloe, they're on the ground non-stop, speaking with not just clients but partners. Like we want to do more with people like the CLCA and the APLD and so forth, and understanding where they think the market's going, and then they'll feed back into us as well. We have the content team, Nina, who, if we are to do a TV show, Nina will be the one who presents it, by the way. She was the one hosting the award. She is fantastic. I think
she was a great moderator.
Yeah. Amazing at what she does, and she's just so involved in the industry. And again, like they're constantly doing interviews with people, and we're not going into that trying to find information about who we should target. However, if they come out of that call and they're going, we should look at doing takeoff systems going forward. We should look at how people can, spice up jobs quicker, and then we'll go out and find companies that are relevant to what these people have told us. But it's all about keeping it relevant. That's the main thing. That's the number one key here. We don't want to be, and this is my biggest pet peeve with all the other shows is people that aren't relevant, and I think companies that are outdated. Those are the two main things.
So, how many do you think you'll have this year in terms of new vendors? Maybe that's not a fair question because that's a
No, it's hard to say exactly. But I mean, we finished last year with 102% rebook, which is great. Moving into a new venue, we've probably done. I think you've seen the floor plan now. I think we've increased it by around 50-60%. So you're going to be looking around 150, 160 vendors overall for next year's show, which is going to be exciting. But there's different areas that we want to go down in that with that show for next year. There's areas we didn't do, in my opinion, we didn't do well enough or showcase enough at last year's show. Again, like the outdoor living market, like our Discovery were there and they're a brilliant company. However, there needs to be a bigger variety of what they do. Commercial equipment, people like JCB, Cat, for instance, their machinery and their equipment is going to be absolutely crucial to get a lot of this work done over the next few years. That's an area to focus on. A big thing for this year that we want to do, and we are doing it, is we're creating a tech trail for the show where we believe that one, the US is massively advanced when it comes to utilizing technology and using in their businesses compared to, I think, any other continent, maybe not Asia, but definitely Europe for sure. But I don't think, again, enough contractors are utilizing it. And what we want to do is create this opportunity within the show that isn't just like a seminar, isn't just talking at people. It's an interactive walkway for people to go and understand different elements of technology, actually having in-depth conversations and showcasing them everything from back of house systems that can completely streamline their business to new, I don't know, mowing systems, for instance, that autonomous mowers. That's a really growing market at the moment. So yeah, that's a bit more for this year.
very cool. So, anything that we haven't covered that you would love to talk about with the show?
I think we covered a lot of it. And to be honest with you, if you let me, I could stay here and talk about it for hours. I think we've covered a lot of it, covered a lot of the trends for this year. We focused on a lot of the key areas, and we've probably got our point across. But I think the main thing is for contractors and people that are listening to this, reach out to us, have a conversation with us. We want to speak with people like you are, Matt. We want to speak with people and help them find ways that they can keep getting more recognition and more awareness for their business. We want to work with them. We want to showcase their work. We want to understand more about their business and what we can do to support it going forward. And again, we want to just keep continuously building out this community and developing that and nurturing people and bringing them up with us.
Great. And there's anybody who's on the fence for going or exhibiting, what would you tell them?
If they're on the fence about going or exhibiting, have a look at some of the reviews and the feedback from last year's show. I mean, you've got some of the biggest names in landscaping saying it's the best show they've been to, and it's our first time doing it. This is where I'll get a little bit cocky. That's the first time we ran the show, and we've got people that haven't been to shows in years because they haven't seen quality, saying it's the best thing they've been to in decades. And that for us is one of the most reassuring factors. The other thing I'll say is if you want to keep developing your business and you want to keep up with the current times and you want to keep up with your competitors, there is no other event within California that's going to support them and show them and educate them ways to do that like our show is going to do. And for exhibitors, the same thing to them. I don't think there's definitely other events out there, but in our opinion, and I think in a lot of our attendees' opinions, there's not other shows that focus on this market as well as we do. There's not as many any other shows that support the exhibitors and develop with their needs and what they want going forward and nurture them as much as we do. And I think in terms of the audience we're going to get in front of, if you want to make money and you want to develop in the California market, now is the time to do it. Get in while the ground's setting and make sure it was hot and take advantage of it. And we'll do everything we can in our power to make sure they're getting the results they need, make sure they're getting a return on investment from coming down to the event. And then, the main thing is here, we don't want to work with companies for 1 year. We want to work with you for 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah, we're happy to keep nurturing that.
Well, that begs the question. Thank you. That begs the question. are you going to expand other parts of the country, and how does this become more less of a regional and more of a nationwide? Because you got Anthony, who's in Indiana, which we were fortunate to have. He was there, and it was valuable.
It'd be beneficial to any landscape company in America to fly to California and go.
Yeah. Great question. I'm not going to say too much because I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but I will say we have plans to do that. The one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to become a traveling show, because again, a lot of the events in the US are traveling shows. They'll go to Los Angeles, then to New Orleans, then to New York, and then they'll go to Colorado, for instance, and they'll travel around. And whilst that's great and that they're good shows and there's no issues with them, they're not building up a market, if that makes sense. They're not building a connection with that in that sector that much. And for us, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And we do want to start branching out to other areas as well. But the core thing here is making sure that the Los Angeles show and this West Coast market is being nurtured for properly first, and developing this show to the point where it has the recognition, it has the name, it has the content, and then we can potentially start adding to the team and start developing across the rest of the US as well. Because Indiana is a place that, whilst it may not be where we do the show, is a place I'm desperate to go. Only because I'm not too sure if you guys are football fans, but I love Pat McAfee, so I'm desperate to go. I want to go see the the Thunderdome is where I want to go and see where he does his podcast as well. But yeah, we're eager to move this around.
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you to you. Thank you for being up late. I know it's late there, or getting later.
Yeah.
Thanks to your nephew for letting you stay in his room until you come back to the States. And then, Anthony, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's great meeting you and getting to know you, Tom.
Absolutely.
I'm a huge fan of the event. We loved it.
Absolutely. And Anthony, I was saying to Matt the other day, I didn't think we even realised who each of us was at the time, but I remember speaking to you in the entranceway to the convention centre, and you gave me some amazing feedback. And then that same night, I put two and two together and realised you were here with Matt, and it was just it was great, mate. So I really appreciate you guys coming down and supporting the event and supporting us and what we're doing going forward.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you for having me on here. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. That was Tom Glasby, event director from Futurescape USA. If you want to learn more about Futurescape USA, or you're thinking about attending or exhibiting, head to futurescapeusa.com. You can also reach Tom directly at tom.glasby@ljs44.com. That's tom.glasby@eljays44.com. If you got value from this episode, share it with a contractor who needs to hear it. You can find Anthony at anthonyslawn.care.com, and if you need help getting your brand out there and building trust online, head over to hardscapinghq.com. We'll see you on the next one.